Does all that hair help you sing?
What? Ask what you can do for your country.
The hula hoop remains controversial.
This is the family of my uncle, the late William Randall, philanthropist and tycoon, who died beloved, respected, and broke. How do three such people face the news that they're $492 in the hole? Now, this is me, Maggie, niece, ward, and secretary to my late uncle. Well, we'll readjust. We'll move out of this big house and get a small apartment, sell what furniture we don't need, and start looking for jobs. Aunt Caroline?
Maybe we could even go into business. Start from the bottom the way my William did. Do either of you know where we could pick up a small steel mill reasonably?
This brings us to Eric, now the head of the family, with a life of gay parties, polo, and casual romances behind him. He is ready to face the future in his own way.
Anyone for tennis?
Well, you can't win them all.
The Golden Age of Television presents Patricia Crowley starring in All in the Family, co-starring Lorene Tuttle, Henry Hull, and Edward Mallory after these messages.
Technological revolution in China may soon make silver one of the most sought-after precious metals in the world. They're expected to use 500 million ounces by 1990.
Family.
Well, Aunt Caroline and I didn't open a steel mill, but we did take some art objects she'd collected over the years and what furniture remained and opened a small antique and decorating shop. Aunt Caroline's making a sincere effort to adjust to the world of business. But it may be a little more difficult for the world of business to adjust to Aunt Caroline.
Good afternoon. May I help you?
Good afternoon.
I'll handle this one, dear.
Last night I noticed a duplicate of this in your window. May I see it?
Strange. This must be the missing twin Dudley was talking about.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, Dudley McNair. He was ambassador to Peru. Did you know Dudley?
I don't think so.
Wonderful man. He drank a little too much, but he had a poet's appreciation of beauty.
How much are you asking for that?
Would $150 be too much?
Oh, that is high.
High? For the missing member of the only matched pair of Aztec candlesticks in the world?
Hello, Maggie, my love. Good afternoon, Mother.
Hello, Eric. This is my son. Run along and play, dear. Mother's busy. I'm in the middle of a bit of high-pressure selling.
Mother comes from a long line of snake oil salesmen.
Eric, suppose you come in back with me.
You see, madam, these candlesticks have historical value. They were once the prized possession of an Aztec king.
Oh, my own flesh and blood in trade. Making any money?
No, not really. Although we did find a Confederate $5 bill cleaning out that old blanket chest. How about you? Did you find a job today?
Oh, thank you. To watch your language. I'm a guest. No, I got up this morning in my well-appointed apartment.
Borrowed from a friend who's in Europe.
Had breakfast with an old sailing chum, won lunch from another dear friend playing squash, and capped the day at the bridge table with a $47 profit.
Well, now, there's something wrong. You made more than we did.
I'm trying to tell you, Maggie, the good, clean life is overrated.
Oh, she didn't buy it.
Can you imagine that woman insisting that $150 was too high? It was a steal. Well, $150 was so cheap. When she didn't buy ours, I bought hers.
Oh, Aunt Caroline, there's a silly superstition in the world of finance. You're supposed to take in more than you pay out.
Oh, I'm sorry, my dear. I guess the day's been a complete failure.
Oh, not really, Mother. You reunited two candlesticks.
Eric, why don't you find some nice rich girl and get married?
If somebody has to be sacrificed on the altar of survival, why don't you marry one of those dull pinstripe lads who have been chasing you?
I refuse to marry anyone just for his money.
Then why me?
Because you have no character.
Mother, are you going to stand there and let me be maligned?
Maggie, dear, please. It's true, dear. You have no character.
Speaking of pinstripe lads, I ran into David Pryor at lunch. He was asking for you.
Isn't that Ansel Pryor's grandson? Oh, he was the one who... He was very fond of you, my dear.
Yes, Mother, if you consider chasing her around the 18th green 4 times on New Year's Eve fond, he was fond of her.
I hear he's doing quite well in the family business.
It's pitiful. He applied himself. He gave up golf, sold his boat, stopped chasing girls around the 18th green, and in the end, do you know the terrible thing his grandfather did?
No, what?
Made him a vice president.
Oh, poor boy, he's done for.
Don't laugh. Now that the company's moving uptown, he'll probably never be heard from again.
Moving?
But Ansel Pryor and company have been in that old warehouse down by the river as long as I can remember.
David's practically convinced the old man they should move up to Madison Avenue.
Aunt Caroline, this is our chance.
For what?
Well, if they're moving to new offices, they'll need an interior decorator.
That's true, dear. Who shall we recommend?
Randall and Randall.
Oh, are they good?
Aunt Caroline, that's us.
That's us!
Yes.
Margaret, this is a great pleasure.
Hello.
Nice to see you, Mrs. Randall.
Hello, David.
Maggie, I haven't seen you in the longest time.
No, not since we did 4 laps around the 18th green, I think.
Come on, come into the office.
But Ansel, weren't these gentlemen here first?
I dare say. Bertha, give these chaps something to read. Right through there, dear. You come in, won't you?
Thank you, Ansel.
Yes.
Here?
You take that chair there? Good.
Sit down, Maggie.
Oh, thank you, David.
David, drop of sherry for the ladies.
Oh, no, thank you, Ansel. We didn't come here for cocktails. We're here on business.
Really? What charity are you representing now? Milk for the Estonian babies or a home for homeless homing pigeons?
Oh.
Bertha! Bertha?
Grandfather, why won't you use the intercom?
I've been calling Bertha this way for the past 40 years. The poor girl. She's just getting used to the telephone.
Mr. Pryor, Aunt Caroline and I aren't here about any charity. You see, Uncle William made some strange investments.
Yes, I've heard that his estate wasn't quite what anyone expected. Now, how much did he leave?
Well, very little. Well, you might even say nothing.
You mean you're absolutely penniless?
I'm terribly sorry, Mrs. Randall.
Well, what are you two going to do?
We've gone into the interior decorating business.
Interior decorating?
Yes, and we heard that you're moving to new offices uptown, so...
Well, now, how's that for a fantastic idea? Imagine Ansel Pryor and Company moving out of this warehouse.
Grandfather, we're not moving out of the warehouse, just the office.
Really? Yes. Well, then we've got to do some more thinking about that. We cannot go off half-cocked,
Grandfather.
You know. My dear boy, Ansel Pryor and Company started on this very spot
Grandfather,
150 years ago.
you told me.
My great-grandfather's...
You told me to go ahead and have the lease drawn.
I told you to look into it.
You did not tell me to look into it. You told me to have the lease drawn.
David, in my day, we did not discuss business in the presence of ladies.
Oh, but that's why we're here.
Mr. Pryor, those men are getting mighty impatient out there.
Oh, they really will. Tell them to cool their heels. I'm very sorry, my dear. I must ask you to excuse me while I get back to the dull routine of importing and exporting.
Oh, but Mr. Pryor...
Maggie, why don't we have dinner together? I have a new apartment, and it needs redecorating.
Stop beating about the bush. If you want to have dinner with a charming young lady, simply ask her. Don't go making excuses.
Will you?
Of course you will. And you, Caroline, would you dine with me, dear, in my apartment? On one condition, if you'll promise not to try to redecorate.
Oh, wait.
Say 8 o'clock.
Yes,
I'll call
Ansel,
for you.
but...
Thank you, dear.
now, wait
Maggie,
just a minute.
I'll call you.
Ansel,
Yes.
but, really, Ansel...
I thank you. I thank you for having turned a dull afternoon into a charming interlude. Thank you, Arches.
Very good, sir.
I've often wondered, why do butlers always cough when they enter a room?
It's just their way of giving a warning in case they're interrupting something.
Isn't he nice? What a wonderful compliment.
Hodges has been coughing that way for the past 50 years. And he hasn't interrupted anything for the past 30.
Oh, Ansel, I can't believe that. An attractive man like you?
Stop it, stop it. or I shall give Hodges the rest of the evening off.
Oh, please don't do that. It's much more romantic when he coughs.
I hope you like lots of garlic. Of course, it doesn't do very much for romance, but on the other hand, French perfume doesn't do very much for lettuce.
Maggie, I hope you don't think I invited you here for reasons...
Of course not, David. Why didn't you?
Well, it doesn't seem fair to take advantage of a situation. Maggie, I've changed since that New Year's. Have I apologized for that?
With 24 long-stemmed roses. Now, actually, I'm the one who should apologize.
You?
Mm-hmm. I should have told you. I ran the 440 in high school. No, my reasons for being here are the devious ones. I suppose you know I'm going to try to talk you into letting Randall and Randall decorate your new offices.
Yeah, I know.
David, I have some good ideas, too. Why should an office be cold and impersonal, with metal filing cabinets and steel desks?
Maggie, I'm afraid we're never going to move to those new offices.
Why?
Because Grandfather's a pig-headed old goat. And he'll never stop thinking of me as a little boy in a Buster Brown collar.
I'm not just clinging to the past, Caroline. That old office is more than just a tradition. It's the cornerstone of our business.
Of course it is.
I remember looking at that window, down the river, out through the Narrows, watching the ships come in, anchor in the harbor. I remember one time, a ship came in from China loaded with teak wood. I had bribed her captain to anchor 3 miles out. I got a speedboat and beat my competitors by 2 hours.
Oh, Ansel, you would have made a wonderful pirate.
And now I've got to move uptown to bright, shiny new offices. It's like saying goodbye forever to someone you love.
Ansel, I'm surprised at you. It's not like you to give up so easily.
David, it isn't like you to give up so easily.
Grandfather's fought every change I've ever suggested.
Well, isn't it about time he accepts the fact that you have ideas of your own?
Naturally, I want David to have ideas of his own, to feel he's part of the business.
Well, of course, my dear. But does that mean you have to give up something that your whole life?
You're right, Maggie. I'm going to stand up to Grandfather and insist we go through with our plans.
You're right, Caroline. You don't easily surrender the things you've lived with, believed in, fought for. All right. The boy shall have his place with the company, but it will be down at our old warehouse by the river.
You don't know what Randall and Randall has done for my life.
I still think we should have gone to a movie.
And let total strangers gape at you. More wine, you maddening creature.
I think you've had enough, Eric.
Yeah, but you haven't. Don't you know that champagne is supposed to set a girl's senses reeling?
But that's not champagne. That's Mr. Pirelli's 98-cent special. I think I better go before my brothers get up a posse.
Hi, Kitty. Hi, Maggie. I see you ran the 440, too.
When you go to work, leave a note for me on the clothesline. Good night.
Oh, Eric.
She'll kiss me goodnight at the incinerator. She's very sentimental.
Oh, but I have the most
Good evening,
wonderful
Mother.
news. Hello, Eric. And Caroline. Oh, I have some wonderful news. You better sit down, though. Do you know who's going to decorate the new offices of Ansel, Pryor and Company?
Who? Us?
Us.
Well, I think you better sit down, my dear. Because I have a little news of my own.
Maggie.
I tried calling you last night.
Well, I took a long walk.
Then you heard.
Grandfather called. He couldn't wait to let me know the kind of fool I made of myself last night.
It's no catastrophe.
Isn't it? The deal's off.
Yes, I know. I'm as disappointed as you are, but if your grandfather's decided...
Grandfather always decides. He always has and he always will. But I made one decision tonight on my own. I quit.
Oh, David.
Cold.
But you can't. You're a vice president.
No, Maggie, I'm an office boy. Just a $30,000 a year office boy.
You office boys need a union.
But, Caroline, last night you persuaded me not to move.
Ansel, only a gigolo would remind a woman what she said the night before in his apartment. Don't you see, David has to feel that he's contributing something.
He is. I have every respect in the world for the boy's ideas, but not for this one.
You can't stop progress.
Fabulous, my dear Caroline. Do you realize that my firm was the first one to put in a modern loading and unloading equipment? Mine was the first firm to install a modern cost accounting system. My employees have always been happy. They've always been well paid. Well, I even voted for FDR. Once.
But Ansel, things are changing. You can't sit around dreaming about that shipload of teakwood that you stole from your competitor.
And you want me to give up all of this? To go sit in a brand new office and stare at plate glass and plywood and chromium?
But you can hardly see the river now with that new building in the way.
Yes, you can, too. If you move over here, you get a very good shot of it, right? I see there. No, there.
All that construction now, what's that going to be?
That? Oh, it's just a new office building going up. It won't be very high.
Yes, but isn't that the spot where the new housing development is going to be?
What's the difference? If you look right between the housing development and the office building, you get a very good view. And if you stand just right.
What you mean is, if you stand on a chair with a periscope, you may be able to see your precious river. We can't go on looking for things that aren't there anymore. When something is over, we have to say goodbye, no matter how dear it is to us. One by one, they're tearing down our yesterdays to build a bright new world.
To David's new offices.
The golden age of television will continue in a moment.
I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
Children, makers of tomorrow's world. But what kind of...
I must congratulate both of you on a job well done. And don't forget my 10% commission.
My, it doesn't seem very much like a grand opening, does it? I mean, without Ansel.
Without David.
Well, I know a Hollywood starlet who's available for ribbon cutting. She's opening a supermarket this morning.
This was supposed to be a happy day for all of us.
How would I look as chairman of the board? Gentlemen.
Darling, you do have a flair.
Well, he has a gavel. Now all he needs is a corporation.
Very nice. Very nice.
Hello, Ansel.
Oh, here you are, sir. I tried to keep the old firm going while you were gone.
Thank you. Caroline, Margaret, congratulations.
Thank you, Ansel. You do look impressive standing there.
The ladies have done a splendid job, haven't they, Eric?
Yes, sir, they have.
Yeah.
David!
Hello, Maggie. It looks very nice, all of it.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you changed your mind.
I didn't change it, Maggie. Hello, Grandfather.
Hello, David.
Grandfather, I have an offer with a construction firm in Brazil, just to make it official as the board acted on my resignation.
They have. And on my recommendation, they decided to accept it.
Mr. Pryor, now I know this isn't diplomatic of me, but you're stubborn and obstinate.
And pig-headed. But you didn't let me finish. On my further recommendation, they decided to name you the new president. Now that you are president, here's my resignation.
Ansel, you can't do that.
I won't accept the resignation.
Now, look here, young man. I'm still head of this firm. At least for the next few minutes, you're taking orders from me.
I will not.
If there's a deadlock, I'm available. For presidencies only.
You're quitting under fire because we took your little toy away from you.
Now, see here, young man.
You're pouting, that's what you're doing. In the last 10 years, our business has tripled. Last year was 16% over the previous year. And now you're pulling out in the hope that the whole firm will collapse over my shoulders. Well, you may not need me, but the firm needs you. If anybody goes, it's me.
You know, I remember saying something very much like that to my grandfather more than 40 years ago.
Yes, Ansel, you should be proud of him. He's just as stubborn as you are.
All right, I'll make a deal with you. You stay as president, I'll stay as chairman of the board. Deal?
Deal.
Good. You better hang on to this young lady, too. She's done a lot for your spunk.
I'd like to. And you ought to hang on to Mrs. Randall. She's done a lot for your temper.
Well, I feel left out.
Mr. Pryor.
Yeah.
Why don't you look at your new office?
I mean, must I? I've had a very hard day already. All right, all right, all right. I don't... Well.
It was Aunt Caroline's idea.
I thought the old and the new would make a good combination.
Well, I guess I'm stuck with all this old junk. Bertha!
Mr. Pryor, now that we have new offices, could you please use the intercom? I understand it's as easy to handle as the telephone.
If it weren't for the fact that I have to sit here and stare out at Madison Avenue, I'd feel quite at home again.
Well, we've thought of that, too. Anytime you're lonesome for the river.
Our first commission. Shall we frame the check, dear?
Money wasn't meant to be hung on walls. It was meant to breathe and spread happiness. Let's cash it.
Everything turned out so well.
Including 2 proposals of marriage.
And Eric has a job.
Caught up in the spirit of goodwill and harmony, how could I say no?
Oh, darling, you'll make a wonderful stock clerk.
Oh, may I help you?
Yes, you may. Why, those candlesticks. They look very much like this one.
I didn't know the king had triplets.
They are alike. How much are you asking?
$200.
That much? I only paid $50 for mine.
But you see, madam, you have no idea of the historical value of these candlesticks. They were once the prized possession of an Aztec king whose gypsy bride ran off with one of them. He finally died after searching the world over, a broken man.
What do you think?
I think we're going to have the only 3 matched Aztec candlesticks in the world.
Next on A&E, a burlesque comic masquerades as an international spy for the U.S. government in the hilarious My Favorite Spy, starring Bob Hope and Hedy Lamarr.